Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video I'm going to take a very quick look at a tool which I think is going to be really beneficial for a lot of you out there, especially if you're into tech and you're building PCs and that kind of stuff, or maybe you just need something to illuminate the way. So today we're going to take a look at the LePro head torch. This is actually a very cool piece of technology, and you should be able to pick this up from Amazon for somewhere in around about the £10 mark. At the moment it's £13.99, there's a discount code and also a £2 voucher, so yeah, around about £10 this should cost you. Links will be in the video description, of course they will be affiliated. Although we're not sponsored by them at all, this is just something which I saw on offer and thought this is a really good deal and very, very useful. Now it actually started because browsing on Facebook, there was a company which, I can't remember the name of them, but they were actually showing off these head torches, and there was loads of adverts showing how cool they were, and I looked at them to see how much they were, and they were about £30. Although they had a kind of sales system going, so if you bought two, it was a little bit cheaper, buy three, etc, etc. And it worked out you needed to buy about 5 or 6 of these to get them down to a similar price that LePro were selling them for. And they appear to be basically exactly the same. So this is a super bright LED headlamp torch. It's rechargeable, recharges over a normal USB Type-C port, which all devices should do these days really. To give yourself a full charge, you're looking at about 4 hours total charge, and that will give you somewhere in the region between 4 hours and 10 hours of runtime. So this is actually really useful if you're doing some of those longer projects. Maybe you're working in a loft space, whatever it is you're doing. Maybe you're just going out to the back garden, pick up some wood for your wood burner, and it's dark in the winter, and you want to see what you're doing, but you want to have your hands free. This is very, very cool. Or likewise, if you're building a PC and everything's going well, but then you get to the point where you've got those little tiny connectors on your motherboard and you just can't quite see them because you've got those slightly older eyes, then having a little bit more light on the situation is very, very helpful. And also if you're a network admin, how many times have you been down the back of a network cabinet or even in your own home looking down at your router, your switches and cabling, and you're just trying to fumble around in there? This is going to make life a lot easier. So this thing is really cool. It's a kind of rubber silicone band. You've got cob lighting on there. There's also a built-in spotlight as well. So if you don't like the strip light or you want to have a little bit more of a concentrated light, you can use the built-in spotlight, which also has a 30-degree adjustment. So have it down a little bit if you wanted to. Something which is really cool, which I haven't seen on many head torches, is this also has a sensor. So if you're someone that maybe you're working on something which is a little bit grubby, maybe you're doing an oil change in your car, and you've got your gloves on, you've got oil over your hands, last thing you want to be doing is messing around trying to find your torch, or basically turning a torch on. If you've got kind of like a normal pen torch, it's, yeah, you've got to grab it and you've got to turn it on and off. It's a bit of a pain in the backside. So this is actually very cool. On the side, there is actually a movement sensor. So all you do is just wave your hand past it and it will turn it on or off. So you don't have to have it on all the time, and you don't actually have to make any physical contact with it at all to turn it on or off once it's turned on. So let's go through and take a look at some of the lighting modes, and I'll put it on. Now it does look a little bit daft, I'll be honest with you, but the fact that you can see what you're doing I think is great, and it's actually a little bit loose. There is a adjustable band, so you can adjust it to be the right tightness on your head, and it's actually quite comfortable as well and doesn't seem to leave any obvious marks, which is a pretty good thing. Now, I actually wore this for probably about an hour or so the other day when I was doing some work, and yeah, it was great. Didn't really get very sweaty, so that's always something to be mindful of, especially if you're working hard. But anyway, let's take a look and see what it's all about. So there's 2 buttons on the top, which I'll give you some close-ups of, one of which is the traditional on or off button, so do be aware there will be bright light now. So this is the first level. So this is the main setting. So this is giving off 350 lumens. It's a really nice 230-degree wide band of illumination. And actually, even if we turn off the studio light, which I'll do now, it actually, yeah, it still lights up the place pretty darn well. So let's turn the studio lights back on. Yeah, you can see it's actually really good. You can still see what you're doing. Actually, let's leave these off for the demonstration. So if we use the next setting, so this is 110 lumens, so a little bit dimmer and still very good if you want to see what's going on your motherboard or whatever. Very useful indeed. Then you can press it again, turn it on off. If you do quick flashes or quick presses, it cycles through the various modes. So on, and now we're on the spotlight mode. So in the spotlight mode, you angle that down a bit so it doesn't dazzle the camera. So the spotlight mode is actually really useful as well if there's a specific area you're trying to illuminate rather than a wider field. So this has got a 30-degree angle, which is actually pretty useful, and this is only 150 lumens, so this is going to make your battery last much, much longer. Press it again, and you can cycle it down into the slightly lower lumens. So this is now 60 lumens, so this is going to give you your longest battery life. So this is actually very cool. So if we press the button on the back, which is the sensor, so now if you move your hand past the sensor, it will turn it on or turn it off, depending on what you want to do. So this is actually really useful. Say you kind of got your greasy, dirty hands, or they're wet or whatever, just sway past it, it's fine. And actually I find that because it is a sensor, if there's something actually nearby and you haven't got your hands free, you can actually still make it do it. So it is basically, it doesn't have to be your hands, it can be anything. As long as it senses something going past, it will turn it on or off. So yeah, I think this is actually a very cool idea. Let's turn the studio lights back on so you can see things normally. Now when it's in the sensing mode, you've got the flashing LED on the side, just to let you know it's in that mode. So again, just go past it and it will turn it on or off, depending on what you're doing. So yeah, so I think it's a very cool idea. And if you want to turn it off, press the off button, and you can just have it in normal on-off mode if that suits you, and go cycling through the various modes. Some other cool features of this as well, because if you are going to be using out and about, it is also IP44 rated. So that means it's going to be kind of rainproof, it's going to be weatherproof to some extent, drop proof. You can drop it and it's not going to be a problem. And also if you're working in a dusty environment, then it is also dust proof as well. So yeah, that's pretty handy. Those protections are quite useful, and you do get some of these kind of similar devices which are cheaper, which don't have that important IP44 rating. So if you kind of take it out in the rain or just somewhere where it's damp, then it's basically going to stop working very quickly. A little bit of a weird video, I know, but I think this is actually going to be very handy. And for those of you that are out there building PCs, you know what it's like trying to actually see what's going on inside your tower case. Maybe you haven't got the best lighting in your room, and you don't want to have a separate torch or like one of these kind of work light type things, which are good. But again, you've got to keep on moving it around, and when you move, you kind of got to get a different angle and try and get it in the right places. And it's a little bit bulky, it just takes up another hand. So I think it's actually a pretty good idea to have something which actually will attach to your head, whichever way you look. Obviously the light is going to go with it, so you've always got your area illuminated. Also, you can use this for things like cycling. So if you want to use it for cycling, you can do. If you want to use it, I don't know, any reason at all really, doing servicing repairs on your vehicle, building PCs, cycling, just going for a walk at night along those kind of more dimly lit side streets, that sort of thing, then this potentially could be very helpful. And for the sake of about 10 quid, I think it's actually a pretty cracking deal. But what I think about it isn't important, what you think about it is. So let me know what you think about the LePro head torch. Is it the sort of thing you would buy, or have you got one already, and do you like it and do you use it? If you do, let us know in that comment section. I think that's going to wrap this one up. I've been Mike, this is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.